as I mentioned earlier, we have designed through 65% level or complete roadway improvements all the way from Spenard Road to Old Sherwood Highway across the entire Midtown Anchorage. That cost of those improvements are significant enough where we have to break it up into phases for construction. So we broke it into 4 different phases. Phase 1 is what we're talking about here today, and that includes the red box on the left-hand side of the screen, West 30th Avenue, North Star Street. There's a pathway right where that West 32nd Avenue text is. There's no existing roadway there. And then interim improvements from Arctic Boulevard to C Street that'll include painted bike lanes and new signage along the roadway. So phase 2 of the project is actually the blue box that extends from C Street to Denali and includes Calais Drive and a portion of West 32nd Avenue, a new roundabout at Walmart driveway. And then phase 3 includes Denali Street to Old Sherwood Highway and 34th Avenue and a new pathway between 34th and 36th. And then phase 4 will jump back and reconstruct 32nd Avenue between Arctic Boulevard and C Street. So that overview, I'll turn it over to Justin to talk about the project specifics and our proposed improvements.
All right, well, thank you, Matt. My name is Justin Keene, and I'm one of the project engineers on this project. I also work for CRW Engineering Group. And first off, I'm going to talk about the existing project area conditions along West 30th Avenue and North Star Street. The right-of-way width, which is owned and operated, and the area that the municipality is able to upgrade, is 45 feet, so a pretty narrow corridor along West 30th Avenue, and 30 feet along North Star Street. Posted speed limit along both streets is 20 miles per hour. Traffic volumes along West 30th Avenue, 1,080 vehicles per day. And 85th percentile speed is 26 to 28 miles per hour. Along North Star Street, traffic volumes are 330 vehicles per day, and 85th percentile speed is 23 to 27 miles per hour. This area has high pedestrian traffic along the corridor, as well as a ASD bus stop along West 30th Avenue near North Star Street, where there's really no place for the kids to really stand and wait for the bus right now. Moving on to the proposed improvements. So this is a plan view showing the proposed improvements from Spenard Road to Arctic Boulevard. And this figure might be a little overwhelming with all the different colors. We've got a legend here to kind of depict all the proposed improvements. I won't hit on all the items, but I'll try to highlight most of the significant ones, and then the slides following this slide, I'll show a cross section of each of the main roadways here. So the proposed improvements, as Matt mentioned, extend from Spenard Road along West 30th Avenue all the way down to Arctic Boulevard, and then along North Star Street down to 32nd Avenue. And this is a full roadway reconstruction project. So we're going to go in and we're going to replace the structural section below the asphalt. We're actually putting in insulation to resist some frost differential movement. And then we'll also be putting in brand new AC pavement, as well as new curb and gutter along both West 30th and North Star Street. The curb and gutter will be barrier type curb and gutter. Focusing on some of the surface improvements along West 30th Avenue, we're going to be installing 5-foot attached sidewalks on both sides of the road. So both on the north and the south side of the road, all the way down to Arctic Boulevard. From Spenard to North Star Street, we'll also be installing on-street striped bike lanes. And the preferred route for bikers is going to be from these on-street bike lanes down along a proposed 8-foot pathway along the east side of North Star Street. That pathway is going to transition from 8-foot wide to 10-foot wide, and it'll travel all the way out to Arctic Boulevard. In Arctic Boulevard, we'll be installing new curb ramps as well as a pedestrian refuge island and some crosswalk markings to provide a real safe crossing to get you across Arctic Boulevard. The other items to note on this figure is the proposed driveway reconstruction. So this is shown in this blue kind of angled striped hatching. And this is the estimated limits of our driveway reconstruction for all the various parcels. So you can kind of see those are highlighted all along the roadway. And basically what we need to do is we're changing the road grades along 30th Avenue. So we need to tie the existing driveway into the proposed roadway. Other elements along or on this figure include proposed storm drain. So we'll be replacing the existing storm drain that starts up at the West 30th and North Star Street intersection, putting in new storm drain pipe and structures and improving the drainage and grades out there. And we'll be connecting into an existing storm drain system down on West 32nd Avenue. We'll be providing also, like Matt was mentioning, roadway luminaires along West 30th Avenue. These will be installed on the south side of the road. The existing overhead utility lines and poles on the north side are going to have to remain in place. So all the light poles on West 30th Avenue will be on the south side, and we'll install those all the way down to Arctic Boulevard. We'll also be installing new roadway lights on the east side of North Star Street. And then along the pathway, we'll be installing pedestrian style pathway luminaires. So fully illuminated corridor. Other item to note, we'll be installing a proposed retaining wall. This will be installed along the east side of North Star Street. That's going to be attached to the back side of our pathway, and it's going to allow us to get an easement on AWW's property, but also not affect their on-site parking too much. Last thing I'd like to note on here is we've got the proposed temporary construction permits and easements shown, and those are what you see here, basically on almost every parcel where we're going to need our contractor to get on your property and do some reconstructing your driveway or some slope matching. So I think that pretty much covers it. There is a lot of information to see here. So the entire presentation is going to be, actually it's already on the website. So feel free to zoom in and kind of dissect this a little bit more, and feel free to ask us any questions that you might have once you look at it in more detail. So here's a cross section of basically the West 30th Avenue facing east, and it's right to the west of the North Star Street intersection. And it shows basically the kind of different cross sections we're going to be providing along 30th Avenue. From Spenard Road to North Star Street, we'll be installing these 10-foot vehicle lanes with 4-foot wide bike lanes on both sides of the road. From North Star Street, so from this intersection down to Arctic Boulevard, we'll be eliminating the bike lanes and just installing 11.5-foot wide vehicle lanes with no shoulders. And then, of course, along both sections, from Spenard all the way down to Arctic, we'll be installing proposed 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the road. They'll be attached right to the back of the curb. And then we'll be putting in barrier curb and gutter. So basically, barrier curb and gutter is a type of curb and gutter that doesn't allow vehicles to easily travel over the curb. So At the driveways, we'll be putting in curb cut type curb, so it'll be a smooth ride. But otherwise, the barrier curb definitely protects the pedestrian more so than a rolled type curb and gutter. We'll also be installing the roadway lights all along this corridor, as previously mentioned, and the posted speed will be 25 miles per hour. And due to us using basically the majority of this 45-foot existing right-of-way, there'll be no on-street parking allowed. This section shows North Star Street facing south, and along North Star Street we're going to be putting in 10-foot vehicle lanes and an 8-foot attached pathway. And the 8-foot pathway is going to allow two-way traffic for pedestrians and bikes. And that'll just be installed only on the west side here. And similar to West 30th, we're going to be installing barrier curb and gutter. And then, of course, we're putting in the roadway lights as well. We don't have a graphic shown, but from West 30th, 2nd Avenue to Arctic Boulevard, that's where we're going to have that new 10-foot wide pathway, including the pathway lighting to extend from West 32nd Avenue to Arctic Boulevard to provide that safe route from Spenard Road all the way to Arctic Boulevard. We're also going to be installing these cool project branding banners that are going to be installed on the roadway lights as well as on the pedestrian lights. And our landscape architect, Bettesworth North, came up with these cool designs. These will be hopefully incorporated into future phases as well to kind of provide that consistent corridor all the way from Spenard to Old Seward Highway. So it should look really cool out there. So as Matt mentioned, we also have some inter-rim signing and striping improvements, and those are going to be extending from Arctic Boulevard all the way down to C Street. Here I'm just showing a section of that portion of the project. This is Arctic Boulevard down to Dawson Street, and along both, all the way from Arctic down to C Street, we'll be doing striping on the roadway, so new centerline striping as well as bike lane striping. The vehicle lanes will be 11-foot wide and the bike lanes will be 5-foot wide. And there's going to be no on-street parking allowed. And I'll just flip to this next slide, and you can see the bike lanes are going to start and stop kind of right as you get to the C Street intersection. And of course, as Matt also mentioned, the future roadway upgrades, so a full reconstruction, including new sidewalks and upgraded bike facilities, will be included in phase 4 of the overall project. So we do have more information available online, and we recently published our 95% complete plans and specifications, and those can be found on the project website, www.32nd33upgrades.com, under project documents and other resources tab. And since we are at kind of a pre-final 95%, they are still subject to change. We're actually going through our agency review right now, so there'll likely be some tweaks here and there just to get us to the final design. And then after bid, once we get a contractor on board, we will put on the project website our conform construction set, so you'll be able to view those to really get into the details if you'd like. The plans are organized based upon the type of information being provided on each sheet. The best way to kind of navigate through the plan set is just to look on the index and kind of drill into whether you want to look at your demolition sheets, or whether you want to look at roadway plan and profile sheets, or maybe you're interested in what the storm drain looks like. Please review the project plans and we are available to take phone calls or email questions, and we're happy to talk more about any questions, concerns, or comments you might have once you take a look at those detailed documents on our website.